Hello, I'm Chuck Wooden, and I'm also joined by my co-host Monique Melanson-Hunter, and you're watching the Veterans Corner.
Thank you, Chuck. If you haven't seen the Veterans Corner before, it's a show dedicated to our veterans, their families, and those who support veterans in our community.
As always, we have a special show tonight, very informative, a group that we've been wanting to have here for quite some time. It's the Dames for Soldiers, and to our close right here is Sarah Mitchell, and we have Stacey Mendyka. Sarah is the co-founder and leader of Dames for Soldiers, and Stacey is a charter member, right?
Yes.
Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
having us. It's great to have you here. I was looking at a lot of the information that we're going to be going over. There's actually a lot of information. Seeing you guys around on Facebook a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Once again, it's an honor to have you here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us this afternoon.
Any military background?
None of us in the group have served. We have family members. Some folks have spouses, significant others who have served, but we're a civilian group.
Yeah.
Yes.
The reason why I asked that question, we asked that before each show, is we want to honor the veterans who are on the show. We don't not only do that, we honor those like yourself. And on behalf of the Veterans Corner, the viewers, we want to thank you for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you.
Since we have so much to talk about, Monique, you want to jump into?
Absolutely. So how and why did the Dames for Soldiers get started?
Well, the Dames for Soldiers started as sort of a happy accident. My co-founder, Christina, who isn't able to be here this evening, we were both part of a national group with a Connecticut chapter that wasn't really involved in giving back to the veterans like we were hoping for. So we left that group, and one day at lunch we thought up this idea: if and when we ever have time, we're going to create our own group. Some time passed, and Angelina, who was involved with doing fundraising for the Fisher House Foundation, approached myself and said, do you have any friends who would be willing to help at a trivia night or a comedy night or something? And I said, oh, I have some friends. I'll gather us all up and we'll dress up in 1940s, 50s gear and help you out. Little did we know at that moment that this would then launch the group. She was then volunteering with the survivors of Iwo Jima for their victory ride that takes place in New Britain, and said, we need some help for breakfast. Would you be willing to come out again and help? And I said, sure, not a problem. The organizers of that event then asked, what is your group name? And 5 years ago, we had the name Dames for Soldiers floating around, and that's sort of how we came to be. Essentially a happy volunteer accident, in the making. And we got started because we were asked. I want to say all the ladies who are involved with the group, there's a total of 10 of us, have all been asked to participate and volunteer and give back. And as civilians, we see it as an important part to the veteran community and their families.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I've seen them at events, and they do an amazing job. And the veterans just love you girls, and they just are they get so excited when they see you, and it really makes a festive,
atmosphere.
Yes, thank you, Chuck. That's why I need you. I'm the co-host, but I need you, Chuck.
Well, it's.
But you girls do really boost them up, and I especially saw you with some World War II veterans at the Iwo Jima ride, and it was amazing. So thank you very much for what you do.
One of the questions that I was going to ask, and I think I already covered it, maybe we can go into it in more detail as far as family members. None of your members are military, right, or veterans?
Nope, no, not one.
What's the connection?
The connection for me personally, I have extended family who either has been in years ago or more recently. I had family in the Navy, in the Army, and in the Air Force as well. Some of us have spouses that are in the military. Jen's husband is active duty. That's the only one who has an active duty spouse. But for the rest of us, it's mostly family members. A lot of us have friends who are past military. Some of them are deployed currently. in various places, in various branches of the service. So we all have some type of connection to the military.
Emotional connection, family members.
Yes.
And friends.
Yes.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons what we started in the beginning is the reason for the show is to get the word out for all the organizations, foundations, groups, individuals that do things for veterans. And it's important that for us that we do that.
Absolutely.
So.
Because I'm sure that someone has seen you at an event and wondered about the Dames for Soldiers. So what makes your pinup group different than similar groups in Connecticut?
Well, for us, we're not a nonprofit. We don't have any 501c3 affiliations. We are truly 10 volunteers who go out on the weekend and look for different events to be a part of. And what makes us unique is because we're not fundraising, we're able to jump and help various organizations. So we've worked with the Fisher House Foundation. Wreaths Across America is a big one for us. The Iwo Jima survivors out of New Britain. We've collected for Save a Suit. So for us, we're almost bridging the civilian military gap in being able to be at all these different events, see all these different people, and help connect different groups and organizations and individuals to one another, depending on what their needs happen to be. And we also we take pride in looking 1940s, 50s, family-friendly, and super classy. So that's
Always
nice.
do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sitting there listening to you describe that, and that's pretty much what we do. I mean, we try to bring everyone
I think
together.
so too, because we try to introduce things that people may have never heard of, Like, we have had so many people on the show that I never even heard of the organizations before we had them on. So, though the Dames, I gotta say, I'm very familiar with, because they are at a lot of events that I'm at. So it's always wonderful to see the girls.
We've had a lot of repeats,
Yeah.
and we always tell our guests, you're more than welcome to come back. Please get in touch with me or Monique, and if you have an update, you're always welcome. But we've taped. This show is taped. I think we've been throwing out the
You ask
115.
me every time, and I have no idea. I said 250
We're just going to say, we're going to
last
say.
time, and that was not correct.
No, that was.
It's like 107. I've lost track every time.
We're definitely over 115 shows.
Yes. Okay. I'll make note of that.
Those are the shows. I'll get you the exact number for the next show. so
Great.
we know
That's a good
exactly
idea.
What we're talking about. But that's our passion too. Pretty much the same thing you do. We're not. We're not a fundraising group. We volunteer just like you. What groups do you support? To get out there and help.
We support many different groups, and some of the groups that we support are through research that we've done, and we found events that have, that are going to take place or that have happened in previous years, or we have a lot of people reach out to us and say, are you available? So it might not be something that we've heard of before, but one of the events that is very dear to us is Wreaths Across America, and we've been volunteering there for 4 years now, since 2016, and that's at the Middletown State Veterans Cemetery. The first year the event happened, they didn't have enough wreaths for every grave in the cemetery, and that was something that was so unacceptable to us. It's our
All of
mission
us.
to have a wreath on every single grave in that cemetery, and we have been able to accomplish that the past couple of years, which is wonderful. So we fundraise specifically for that event. That's our main event every year.
I know 2 years ago was actually the first time I was there, and that was the year that they were able to get one on each.
That's right.
And actually, they've gone even further this year and went to the State Veterans Cemetery, which a lot of people don't realize it's there, over on West Street in Rocky Hill. It's across the street from the main campus.
And I do have to say that one of our crew, Joe Sanborn, his dad is the coordinator for Wreaths Across America at the Middletown Cemetery. So Joe's on our
He's been
crew.
instrumental. in
Very
getting,
instrumental.
Yeah.
every single one of those grave sites with a wreath,
Yes.
except for the Jewish.
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
The
those
Jewish
do
section.
not receive one.
And that's
correct.
by their choice. That's their choice.
Yes.
We respect that.
Yes.
That's right. So, what are your top favorite 3 events that you do, or if you have done, or if they've been recurring? But what are your top 3 favorite
They've sort of been, I would say, recurring events. The Iwo Jima Victory Ride and Wreaths Across America, I would say, are tied for 1 and 2. My third favorite is the Irreverent Warriors Silky Hike. It's in its second year. I want to say September 28th. It's based out of Norwich, but they're looking for any, veteran, active duty. A non-civilian is allowed to participate. They need civilian volunteers to help the event take place, and we volunteered at it last year. And as from the civilian perspective, to see the brotherhood and sisterhood of these veterans coming together, regardless of branch, age, what they did, was the most beautiful thing to see happen. And I've been telling all my friends, like, if you served, you know somebody who served, please pass this information along. It's to assist individuals who are PTSD and to help eliminate veteran suicide, to bring everybody together as a community.
And that's Silky?
Silky's Hike.
Well, you know what? I'd never heard of that.
You're going to have to show up.
And I just wrote that down.
I have. I didn't tell you. Yes.
You didn't tell me. You're
I
going to
should
keep
have
that to
told.
yourself.
Well, now I feel bad because
Okay.
I absolutely, I'm aware of it, and I do believe it is that Saturday.
We need
the
to
last
have them on
Saturday
the
in
show.
It's the
September.
last Saturday, and the Guardians of the Purple Heart are now taking over the coordination of that event, and we volunteered with them several times, and they're another
The
great
Guardians, we haven't
organization.
had them on the show yet, but they're definitely,
I'm sure they would love to be
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah,
that's
great.
something that we're going to try to, for the fall rotation. We're already making a list, and that's already filling up pretty fast. But we, maybe later on you can give me contact information for
Absolutely.
those of the Silky Hike.
Definitely.
And
So
when
we will be
is that?
participating in that
The
again
last
this year,
Saturday. Yep.
September 28th.
They start 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they hike 13.1 miles from a commuter lot in Norwich, and they end at Mohegan Sun.
Yep.
Yes.
That might be tough to promote that prior to this year, because here we are in August.
Yeah.
So by the time we have them on, it might be aired sometime in November. But we can certainly do
Well,
something.
they are always trying to get the word out, so
Do something after the fact and start promoting it for next year.
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do that. So, can anyone become a dame, and what are the prerequisites? What do we have to do to sign up? I'm thinking you have to be a dame, perhaps.
We've never had a question of identification come up yet. If that happens, we'll roll with it. We'll
Excellent.
see what happens.
Deal with it at the time.
Deal with
Yes.
it. But sort of our minimum requirement is of being at least 25. Working with the population that we work with at some of the events, we need to make sure an individual is able to keep themselves poised and be able to handle whatever situation may arise. But we do have a interview process and an application. And most of the recruits we've had have been more word of mouth versus a true recruitment looking for new members. So
Okay.
it's,
Wow, that's great.
but if you want to sign up,
All right.
let me know.
She's talking to you, Chuck.
Either one.
I'll give it some thought.
I love it. I think you girls look beautiful every time I see you. And you've been, some events, I've seen you standing on your feet for hours and you still manage to look amazingly put together.
Now, what do you have plans for maybe next year? Anything on the horizon as far as future events?
Well, we have the events that we do each year, the recurring events. So we will have the Iwo Jima Memorial event, which is one of our favorite events. I would have to say we look forward to seeing our veterans every year. As I'm told, they look forward to seeing us every year. Their families often say they talk about the event for a couple months prior, and to see the smiles on their faces when we give them red lipstick kisses, that's very rewarding for us too. It's a great event. So we will definitely be doing that. We have, let's see.
Gearhead Mafia
Gearhead
car show.
Mafia.
They do care package collections at their show. That takes place usually the day before the Iwo Jima event in May. The Ted Aub Memorial car show down in Madison. This was our first year volunteering with them. We'll be going back again next July to help them out.
Ted was a regular on the show.
Oh, no.
He's been on the Veterans Corner a number of times.
We also participated again this year in Milford Moves for Veterans. That's down in Milford, Connecticut. It's a 5K.
5K.
So we will likely be doing that again next year as well. Silky's hike again this year, hopefully next year as well.
the
That's
plan.
a great event of ours, and of course Wreaths Across America in December.
I'm glad you mentioned Silky. That caught my attention. I wrote that down.
So, what have you learned anything from all the work that you've done in the veteran community and the different events that you've participated in?
For myself, and I've always sort of been a volunteer. My family's been big on volunteering. My father's a volunteer firefighter, so it's being able to sit down and listen and let that individual tell their story. And if they say thank you, you know what? They mean thank you. And for us, it's our ability to volunteer and help them, but hearing the stories from their family or from them directly, it's one of those, like, makes you a little weepy and makes your heart, you know, we really feel like we're giving back, and
It's gratifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's our way to say thank you to them for what they have gone through for all of us.
Agreed. So, what is one defining moment, if you could pick one, that stands out to you since you've been involved? And I'm going to go for you, Stacey.
Of course, you have to come to me for that one. I think it's just looking at all of the veterans at the events and seeing the gratitude, and it's the gratitude for them being recognized and to have volunteers who appreciate what they have done and to kind of keep the tradition going, because there still are members of the military. There's people who are deployed all the time, and it's about remembering and appreciating and showing gratitude. So I think just the camaraderie at all of the events, the gratitude, the appreciation, that is why I do it. So it's wonderful to see that at all of the events that we go to.
It obviously adds to your passion.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, as a veteran myself, you know, you don't always, you know, expect someone to come up to you and say thank you. Just to tell you a quick story, I was pumping gas one day, and I walked in, paid, came out, and it was a young, he had to be in his teens, 18, 19 years old. He walked out, you know, after me. I was already pumping. He starts walking right toward me. Now, you know, radar is on. Okay, who's this person walking toward me? And he came up and he shook my hand. And this was a teenager. Mm-hmm. It just, you know, it floors you. You just don't expect that.
Absolutely.
I mean, we didn't do what we did for that, but it's so much appreciative. It's nice to know that what we did is appreciated.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people who appreciate and maybe aren't sure how to express that gratitude. But for us, when we help out at events, we're, you know, acknowledging that, and we're shedding some light on different groups. And there's a lot of people that show appreciation and love what we do and just love being informed and love learning about, you know, how to thank a veteran and all of that.
And I think the interesting piece is because we are all civilians, and yes, we do have our own military connection, but for certain veterans to see this group of women, which we are all ages, and everywhere from one of them just turned 30, our youngest turned 30, up to a certain age, to see this diverse group, all civilians, coming out to say thank you and bridging, like I say, bridging the gap. And we've had individuals come up to us and say, well, how do I get involved? How do I get to hang out with the veterans? How do I do more?
You inspire them,
And
more people to come out.
Well, and then the veterans also are like, well, thank you so much for showing up. And I'm like, I'm going to connect you with so-and-so who is a veteran, or this person has a school project and they want to talk to someone. Are you the right person for it? So it's almost being that, like for the Veterans Corner, that facilitator of conversations, and realizing just because you're a veteran doesn't mean you're mean and scary. And just because you're a civilian doesn't mean you don't care about the veteran and military community.
One thing I forgot to mention about that teenager that came out, I asked him, how did you know? And he pointed at my license plate.
Oh,
You know, the veteran's
Yeah,
license.
absolutely.
And for us, it's just there all the time. You don't think of it. And,
Right.
yeah.
But
We've had so many guests on the show where First of all, they're organizations I had never heard of, and I like to think I'm in the veteran community quite a bit myself, but I've learned about so many organizations, and I've actually been able to connect people. So that, what you mentioned about the connecting veterans with different organizations and maybe meeting someone and thinking, you know what, I know someone that might benefit from that. It is so, I'm like Vet Fuel, he was on our show and I saw him this week and I stopped down at his event. And then I was driving home and I thought, I know about 2 or 3 veterans that I think would qualify for his program. So it's just a matter of just, of being open and listening, like you said, listening to the veterans. So again, you girls are doing an excellent service. You really are. It's very important. It's something that maybe others are not doing or aware of. So hopefully somebody will hear about the dames on this show.
They certainly will, and we advertise it through social media. And you'll see it tonight. The pictures that we take, it's plastered. So we've only actually got a couple minutes left. So there's actually 2 questions left. Is there any event or cause that's on your dream or bucket list that you'd like to experience?
Yes, we want to go to Arlington for Wreaths Across America. That is, as a group, that has been something we've talked about. We have one individual has a connection in Virginia. I now have a new connection in Virginia as well, and it's just a matter of time of coordinating schedules and our own personal finances to make that happen. But that is.
Have you ever seen Arlington? Have you been there?
I
have not.
8th grade trip to Washington, D.C., I was one of the students who could place the wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier. But that was
It's impressive.
my time.
I hope you can get there because that's certainly a place that you should see.
And then the last question from me is, how can more people get involved in veteran groups, events, fundraisers, or to reach you? And how can our viewers contact you?
We are big on social media for finding out about other veteran groups, for finding out about us. We have a website, damesforsoldiers.com. We are on Facebook, Dames for Soldiers. We are on Instagram, Dames for Soldiers. So we are there if you would like to find out about us. Really, you can just look up what veteran events are happening near you. You can do a search on Facebook for it. Probably that's helpful. They'll have events created. You could just use Google.
We're big on sharing other events that are taking place, even if we're not at them. If we believe in that organization, we will share it out just so.
If you notice, we do that too. Actually, just added Monique. She's on there too as far as our Facebook page. Whenever we see something, if you notice, I always share your stuff.
Right.
And we'll continue to do that, obviously.
Yeah, because our show reaches a lot of veterans, and like I said, especially for things like Healing Hoofbeats or any of the other organizations. We had the Forever in My Heart Foundation.
They're great.
I know, we love them, and they're having that gala.
We got about 2 minutes left, and what we started.
Can I mention it?
Yeah. Why don't we do the?
See that? See, I'm already excited. I'm already on it, Chuck.
Segue right into it.
Okay, I don't think they're going to be able to
won't-
focus in on me, but it's the Forever in My Heart Foundation, and it is September 28th. Actually, it's that night of what we're going to mention, if we can mention the Silkies as well, September 28th at Foxwoods Resort and Casino. And Heidi Voigt is the host. Montel Williams is going to be there. I just saw that on Facebook. And then the Gypsy Dream Orchestra is going to be performing. So it's dinner, and it's just wonderful.
And just today, it came out that a doctor who's heavily into animal rescue and stuff like that from the West Coast will also be there.
Wow.
So that is going to be not only a wonderful event to support our veterans, but also a fun event. So get a group of people and go, and it's going to be great.
We've got on September 21st, starts at 6 a.m. It's the Run for the Fallen, Connecticut. It's at Veterans Park in Middletown. We got about a minute left, so I'm going to have to run through this. We've also got the wellness, the Warrior Wellness Trail Ride, and that benefits Operation Warrior Horse, and that is for Healing Hoofbeats, and that is up in Morris, actually. It's 94 Isaiah Smith Lane in Morris. So I think you guys
We're
are
gonna be there.
Yeah, I will definitely see you there. So
Do we have time for one more?
actually, we got about 30 seconds left. If you want to just mention
Friday, September 20th at the Rocky Hill VA. Stand down every year. Check it out, 8 a.m. to 2.
Beautiful. It was an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
It was
Thank you.
great, and we hope to have you back. Whenever you have an update, something, anything that's going on, please get in touch with me. Well, with that being said, that's all the time we have. I'd like to we just thanked our guests. We want to thank the viewers for tuning in. I'm Chuck Wooden.
And I'm Monique Melanson Hunter.
Good night, and we'll see you next time on the Veterans Corner.